I must commend Mr. Keeler for such an in-depth presentation. You know, very, very informative, extremely informative. You know, well done, well constructed. You know, must thank and express my gratitude. You know, for such an in-depth. Just sitting here and listening, you're able to garner so much. And I must commend you as well, the founder of Fibroid Awareness TT, not just for establishing the organization and for the cause, but also specifically for addressing it from a male perspective. You know, it's not, yeah, it's definitely not mainstream that you give voice to men on these topics, right? Specifically on these topics, right? So definitely I must commend you, your vision, your drive, your pursuit of this particular cause. Women who are affected by issues of the uterus and specifically fibroids, you know. Fibroids to me, like most other illnesses, actually, whether it be, cancer, kidney failure, diabetes, to me even poverty, most other instances have a lot of commonalities among them. Of course, fibroids have some which are very specific to it, but most illnesses have some commonalities among them. Some of which, for one, top on the list, you'll definitely find severe pain, right? With fibroids, you have like pain as Mr. Keeler would have mentioned in her presentation. A lot of pain in your lower back and lower abdomen and that kind of stuff. It's excruciating. The pain that is caused by it, specifically from fibroids, sometimes even in intercourse as well, right? A lot of pain are associated with it. Hemorrhaging as well, right? I know persons who, and former presenter also shared from her personal life, even when she was pregnant, you know, and the hemorrhaging she experienced. So there's a lot of hemorrhages. And, you know, even in terms of that illness I referred to in terms of poverty, if you're hemorrhaging in that illness, you'll be hemorrhaging cash. You know, while for fibroids, it will be blood, right? And you know, while Mr. Keeler is speaking, I'm a man of faith. I subscribe to the Bible. I'm not here to purport my beliefs on anyone. I'm just saying what I subscribe to. But I realize that this is something that, you know, challenges with fertility or infertility actually date right back to Rachel, Jacob, and they could not have a child, you know. And I reflected on it while listening to the presentation. And even now, speaking about hemorrhaging, I reflect on that lady with the issue of blood. You know, so we have had these challenges around literally for decades. And definitely given voice to the men and the male perspective and how we can assist men in coping with these challenges is something that is definitely commendable. Extreme discomfort is another common commonality among these severe illnesses. A lot of discomfort, especially as a result of the hemorrhaging. Sometimes you go out there, you know, and you're so uncomfortable. You're feeling, you know, the blood running and that kind of stuff. Fertility challenges also associated specifically with fibroids, right? Is one of those, and the former presenter went in depth into it, and some of the views that she gathered from men internationally. And one of the major ones is fear. One of the major ones is fear. Fear steps in at every stage of the process. At the beginning, when you know it's painful, it's uncomfortable, you're hemorrhaging, that fear now steps in. As the man now, as Mr. Keeler said, you know, you want to support, you love your spouse, you love your significant other. It might be a mom, it might be a daughter, might be a wife, you know, and you're in a committed relationship. But because of that fear, you know, and fear could paralyze you. Fear could cause you just just to, you know, back up in a corner, not want to do anything, not want to go outside. Fear could cause you to want to, you know, disassociate. I mean, now we have, because of COVID, we have, you know, a lot of disassociation. But fear, prior to COVID, fear could cause you, you know, just to pull away, right? Because of the severity of the illness, right? And that is some of the commonalities that I recognize from a lot of these major illnesses. And anyone who is affected by fibroids or other illnesses, people who are close to them are also impacted by it, right? Anyone who is actually infected, those who are close to them are also impacted by it. Persons who are close may be a parent, right? Whether both parents or one parent, they would also be impacted. Your spouse, right? In this case, we'll be looking at men. So as husband, as boyfriend, as significant other, we are also impacted, you know, in dealing and trying to be there for our spouse, for our loved one. Children as well, if you had children prior to, you know, finding out that you have fibroids, or maybe they return, because I realized that they can return at later stages, right? So children as well can also be infected, right? Or not infected, but affected because of the challenges associated, because of the challenges associated with a lot of these chronic illnesses. My sister was also diagnosed with fibroids, and I have her permission to speak openly about it. And this is just to show how those close to you are also impacted by the process, right? She was an adult, very successful in her career, living on her own, doing her own thing, and then she found out that she had fibroids. And because of that, no, she could not have cooked, she could not have washed, she could not have done practically anything for herself. Thankfully, we have, you know, some of the best parents in the world, some of the most loving parents, and they had to step in now, even after, you know, she being out there on her own as a successful adult, doing everything. Now my parents had to, you know, get back involved and do the cooking, do the cleaning, do the washing, you know, and be there. And I think the time frame was something like 2 to 3 months, you know, for perfect healing. My sister told me that she had stitches within and stitches without. And because of that, she could not have done anything, you know, excruciating and that kind of stuff. So she needed the support, you know, and actually to get through that healing process, right? So that the stitches do not rip and cause, you know, an even worse condition, right? So persons, so men are definitely impacted. Persons who are close are definitely impacted by the challenges a woman face with you know, issues of the uterus, you know, and in a lot of instances, you are the point person. Let me say that you're the person who is infected or affected personally with the challenge. However, those who surround you, those who are close to you, are also impacted, and impacted, you know, greatly. Impacted greatly. Just imagine in any other illness, whether it be cancer or any other thing, those who are close by are impacted severely as well, right? And because of that, forms like these today, like this particular one, actually giving support to men and other family members who are there around and supporting the person. These forms are very, very significant. These forms are critically important to provide information, to provide support, and definitely, and I'm seeing someone saying even in terms of bathing, right? Just needing that support to go to the washroom on your own, you can't. Man, it challenges. Let me say this. Challenges, it disrupts your life. It disrupts your life. We spoke about the extreme discomfort. It just disrupts your life totally. You know, and we focusing on fibroids today, but it could be any one of those challenges. It could be any major illness. It could be any major challenge. It disrupts your life, right? And I'm seeing someone said you can't even bathe. Now imagine, I mean, we may take it for granted because, you know, we may be healthy and strong. We go to the washroom quite easily. We don't even think about it. And something happens. You're diagnosed with fibroids now, you have the surgeon, and you can't walk, you know, and you can't bathe. Now you need the support, now you need that help. And those who are surrounded, those who are close by, would be greatly impacted as well. Now hear the thing about that. Those who are close by, this is the required response now, right? Especially for men, husbands, fathers. This required response. The first and foremost thing is one of leadership. You can't get away from that as men, because everything rises and falls on leadership. I don't care what it is. I'm into business. That's what I do. Every business rises and falls on leadership. I'm a faith-based person, as I mentioned before. Every church rises and falls on leadership. Government rises and falls on leadership. Now, in this time, we're seeing some countries are doing extremely well. Some countries are actually beating the curve where it concerns COVID and stuff. And some countries are behind the 8 ball. And it's simply because of leadership. And it's not so important what happens in the Red House. It's not so important what happened in Tobago House of Assembly. It's not even so important what happens in the White House. It's very important what happens in your house. That's very important. That's critical. And what happens in your house is dependent on your leadership. My wife always tells me, she said, hey, the atmosphere in here, the environment in here is dependent on you. My wife always, she said, Rawle, if you get up and you're frown and you're unhappy, then the whole atmosphere is unhappy. Leadership is incumbent upon us as the male, as the men, as the husbands, as the significant male. Because remember, your spouse is now afraid. She's now scared. She's now in a lot of pain. And it is incumbent now upon the leader in times of a crisis is when real men stand up. As my father always said to me, say, hey, there are men who run the house and there are men who run around their house. In times of crisis, we need men who would stand up and run their house. When our wives or significant other are now diagnosed now with some of these challenges with issues of the uterus, it's time when we have to stand now as men and provide leadership. One, our wives may not even want to go to the doctor because they're in so much pain because of the environment that we live into. They may be ashamed. They may not even want the fear of going, you know, and actually having the surgery. They may not even want to do that. The desire may not be there. You know, even with my own wife, you see, even though we know what we're supposed to do, that don't mean we want to do it. We know we should not be eating all the sugar and everything so that we can avoid diabetes, but we eat it every day. we know that, you know, and it's required upon us as the leaders now, as the men, to provide leadership for our wives, for our spouses, for our significant others, one, so that they can get through this process, so that we can overcome the challenge, right? Because challenge will come, I mean, it's either, as one person said, it's either you're in a challenge right now, or you just came out of a challenge, or you're going towards a challenge. That is a combination of life. Life is made up of challenges. Even the book that I subscribe to, the Bible, says that man born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. If the Bible says so, then hear what? Know that challenges is going to come. The Bible says that man born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble, right? So it's better we be prepared to face it and lead our families through the crisis, through the experience, so that we can come out better. Because listen, in every crisis, there's opportunity. In every crisis, there is an opportunity. That is just the law of the world that we exist in. Let me prove it. I have a bottle of water here. And water is my most favorite drink. But there's a law of the universe called the law of polarity, or the law of opposites. You cannot have an inside without having an outside. I cannot have water inside a bottle if there's not an outside of the bottle. That's just life. That's just the law of the world that we live in. Okay, the house that I'm in, I may say, okay, this living room is big, but it's only big compared to my bathroom, which is small. If I compare to Magdalena Hotel in Tobago, the ballroom at Magdalena, or the ballroom at Hyatt in Trinidad, this room is very small. It is based on opposites. So if you are in a bad situation, make no mistake, there's a good opportunity right there in the bad situation. You cannot have one without the other. You can't have a left without a right. You can't have an east without a west. That's just what it is. So when we face these challenges of issues with the uterus, fibroids and stuff, when it impacts us, we have to recognize as a leader that yes, this might be a challenge, but there's an opportunity in it. And as a leader, you are the one to look for the opportunity. You are the one to find it and to be able to help your spouse now to recognize the opportunity within the challenge. So yes, we may have engaged, we may have had sex, we may have gotten pregnant, and we have had a miscarriage. Yes, I've been there, done that. I've cousins who, have been trying for years. Yes, had 3 miscarriages back to back, yes. And besides the physical pain, the emotional trauma attached to it. And it's bad. But there's a good opportunity in the midst of it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and share the experience of one of the organizers of this event, that this particular Fibroids of Awareness TT was birthed because of the experience that someone had. Because of the bad experience, or seemingly bad experience. Because of that experience, the Fibroid Awareness campaign of Tobago was birthed. And out of that, we got Fibroid Awareness Trinidad and Tobago. So just imagine, if we did not look for the good in that situation, none of us would have been here today. The support that persons get through this platform, they would not have received that today because we did not look for the good in the situation. I challenge you today, whatever bad situation you're facing, look for the good. Whether it be fibroids, whether it be cancer, whether it be diabetes, whether it be lack financially, look for the good. Look for the good. There is good in it. And as the man, we are the leaders, we have to look for the good. And I encourage all men on this call, all sons, all fathers, all husbands, let us look for the good and be able to sow the good to our wives. Sow the good to your daughter. Sow the good to your mother. Sow the good to your sister, because there is good. Behavioral changes is another required response, especially for those, infected with fibroids and stuff. I recognize that we have to change our diet. Very important. I said to you that water, anybody who knows me knows that water is my most favorite drink, right? We have to change our diet. I recognize as well, because fibroids is as a result of an increase in estrogen, a buildup, that now we have to eat more fruits and vegetables. We have to stay away from stuff like alcohol and eat more nuts. right? We have to change our diet. Now, what's where the man come in? We cannot, if our spouse have to change her diet in order to receive healing in her body, it means we cannot go to the grocery and buy the things that she cannot eat. We cannot go and say, okay, we bring in this home and it's for me. You don't touch it, there's mine. No. In being a good leader, we have to recognize that it's not you in this situation, but we in this situation. It's all of us in this together. Because together we achieve, together we can accomplish, together we can make it, together we can beat this, together we can overcome. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, no man is an island. No man is an island, but together we can do this. The next point is support. As the leader, as the man, it's required of us to support our wives. You see, for those of us who are married, and I've been there, I'm now starting off really, I'm just getting over the what they call the honeymoon stage. I'm now in my 7th year, faced some challenges early on, but I thank God that we're still here. And the third point speaks about support. When I walked down the aisle, the pastor the day said, here what? Do you take your wife to be your, spouse, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health? Now, let me be honest here. My eyes were in my wife's eyes. So I wasn't really, taking on too much what you said, And when he asked do you say, I do? Yes, I do. Not knowing. Not knowing. 5 years down the road, you'll be diagnosed with fibroids. 5 years down the road, you might be diagnosed with cancer. 5 years down the road, you might break a leg, you might break a hand, you might get in a bad accident. Saying I do, but not knowing what the future holds. And it's incumbent upon us as the leader of our homes for us to show our wives and our spouses that we are there to support them no matter what. No matter what, that we are there to support them. You see, real strength. And I love bottles. I love bottled water. I keep saying it's my most favorite drink. Do something with me in your own house. Let's do this together. If you have a glass, take a glass of water or a bottle of water and just hold it in your right hand. All right, I'm seeing one person with a cup there. Excellent. Excellent. Everybody just get a glass, right? Hold it up, hold it up. Just get a glass, get a cup, and hold it in your hand. I will tell you when to rest it down. We're going to rest it down together. So don't rest it down before I tell you, right? It is incumbent upon us as men to actually demonstrate to our spouses, demonstrate to our wives that we are there to support them no matter what. That we are there, that we have their back. That yes, we said I do, we did not know what the future holds. We did not know that we are getting a car accident. We did not know we'd be diagnosed with fibroids. We did not know we might break a leg, break a foot. Remember, don't put on the cup yet. Hold the bottle, hold it still, right? So we did not know. However, we are committed until the end. We are committed no matter what. We are there to support you in good times, in bad times. We are there for the great times, in health, in prosperity and wealth. And when the hard times come, we're not putting our tail between our legs and running. No, we're standing up like a man. And we're there with you, that we end this thing together, right? That is important. That is an important message. Now, what's the importance of the message? The importance of it is not telling your spouse that you're there to support them. No. You're telling them, but only if it is necessary you use words. Let me say that slowly. We have to let our spouses, our families know that we are there to support them. And we only using words if it is absolutely necessary to tell them that. So it means it's based on our actions. It's based on our actions that we are showing. Now hold up the cup. Don't put on the cup. I see some glasses going on. No, hold it up. Hold it up. Yes, hold it up. Right? We dare to support them no matter what. And we are showing them not in words, but in action. What does that mean, sir? What does that mean, mister? It means when your wife, your spouse, your sister, your mother, your significant other now has to go to the doctor, it means you have to be there. She cannot be going for a surgery, and we're talking about we have to work. She cannot. I remember my mother's going for a surgery once, some years ago. I'm in Tobago, she's in Trinidad. And I think it was a Monday or Tuesday or so. And by the Sunday, I knew I had to find myself in Trinidad because my mother's going to have a surgery. You know, we have to let our spouse know that we are there. And no job, no career, no business must come in front of that, must come before that. If it means taking the day off, if it means closing the business, because what? The whole world shut down now. And everybody back in the house. The job that we thought was so important, the business that we thought was, I have businesses shut down. No customers, the government say, hey, close down the business closed. But I hear with my wife, your spouse and your family is the most important. As a matter of fact, the family is the primary institution of society. That's just how it is. The family is the primary institution of the family. Yes, hold up the cup. Yes, hold it up. Hold it up. Hold it up. You see, the thing about support is this. It is easy to hold up a cup for 1 second, 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? When you have to hold it for 5 minutes, that is when you know the strength that you actually have. That is when I see one person actually drinking out of the cup. That is when you know how strong you actually are. When you're able to carry the burden for a long period of time. You see, fibroids is something that may not actually, one person told me that they had it for about 8 years. They had the challenge for. So it's not something that, you know, overnight you get healing for. Overnight you'll get over. No. It's something that's gonna, it's a journey, it's a process, right? And it's gonna take a lot of time, right? And the support that we have to give, it's not just today, but not tomorrow. This week, but not next week. No, this year, but not next year. Well, you know, I really wanted a child, and this and that, so I don't think I could stick around. The support has to be there 24/7. 4 weeks in the month, 12 months in the year, until death do us part, until we're no longer together. That is what the support is all about. Thanks very much for holding up the cup. You can put it down now, right? That is what it's about. You see, the real strength, your real strength is shown with how long you can carry the burden for, how long you can carry the responsibility for. That is when real strength is demonstrated. Anybody could talk a good game. Anybody could look good for 5 minutes. Anybody could look good for an hour. Anybody could look good for a day. But when you have to carry the burden for 5 years, for 10 years, when you have to be there to support, no matter what, 20 years going by, when you have to be, that is when you see the strength of the man. That is when you see the real Makwa, the leader. My father always used to sing a song, I can't remember who sang it. He said, the stuff great men are made of is the stuff you can miss unless you look below the surface. You see, you might see strong arms, but inside you need to have the tenacity and the dexterity to support your wife, support your spouse, going through the process, no matter what. That takes some real guts on the inside. It doesn't take going to, you know, a gym and getting some big biceps and triceps and, no. The real stuff is on the inside. Can you support your wife, your spouse, your significant other to go through this process for the long haul, no matter what it is? No matter what it is. Number 4 is the environment conducive for healing. Very important, very important. At birth, we are the combination of a genetic code. Chromosomes from mommy, chromosomes from daddy, come together, boom, form me. Right, yeah. However, after birth now, it's our environment which actually molds and shapes us after birth. Right? Let's make it plain. If a child born in Trinidad and Tobago today, born in, before COVID, right? A child born in Trinidad and Tobago, but you take that child and send it by Chan in China, and they grow up with that child will be raised speaking Chinese with no knowledge of the English language. Because of the environment. It's just what it is. So we have to create an environment conducive for recovery, an environment conducive for healing. And our former presenter, Mr. Keeler, spoke so well about what is required, not just in the physical space, but the emotional space. Right? So yes, the environment, we need the house to be swept, we need the place to be clean, provide stuff for you because you recognize that they can't bathe for themselves and that kind of stuff, right? They may need help to get off the bed and all of that. You know, they may need a new bed and all. This one might be too high to get off the ground. They may need a new couch set, a new table, a wheelchair. I remember last year I broke I didn't break my leg, but I tore my right thigh. My right thigh was torn and I could not walk. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk, right? So an environment needs to be created for healing, for recovery, right? An environment that is stress-free. Stress is one of the main contributors of any illness. I'll say it again. Stress is one of the main contributors to any illness, stress. So as the husband, as the male, as the significant male in the lady's life, we need to provide an environment that is free of stress. Right? We have to somehow, you know, stop the quarreling and the arguing and try and create an environment of peace. And an environment, you know, that is warm and friendly, an environment that they can actually rest, recover, and recuperate. That is important. That is important. Creating an environment conducive for healing. When my sister had her surgery, she already was living on her own, but now she had to return to my parents' house in order to recover for about 3 months. For about 3 months, right? So now my parents now, the home, my parents' house now had to be, you know, converted so that my sister could actually be healed, right? That is significant. The last point is this. The last point. What is some of the coping tips for us as men? Some of the coping tips. 1, because every illness, every illness, every challenge, every disease, every illness, the body is actually the reflection of what is happening on the inside. The body is not where things originate. The body is a reflection of the original thing. We are not our body. We live in a body, but you are not your body. You never hear anybody say, well, I'm hand, I'm leg, I'm head. No, you have a hand. You have a foot. You have a head, but you are not your head. You live in your body. right? And that is significant. So in order to, and watch me, that is so significant. I have a mirror here. I have a mirror, right? I have a mirror. If I want to change what I'm seeing in the mirror, if I want to change what I'm seeing in the mirror, I can't scratch on the mirror here to change it. No, I have to change here in order to change here. And a lot of times we are treating illnesses and diseases in our body, but not treating what is going on the inside. So to wrap this up, one, coping mechanism, create a gratitude journal. Every morning, write down 10 things that you're grateful for. That's all. What it does, it shifts your mind from thinking on the negative to thinking on the positive. Remember earlier, we said there's always opposites. If you have an inside, you have an outside. If you have a big room, you have a small room, right? So if you have a negative, you always have a positive. What we have to do is to train our mind to focus on the positive. So every morning, just write down 10 things you're grateful for. Life, health, strength, food, whatever it is. The second thing is our adaptability quotient, and we're going to wrap up on that. We know a lot about IQ, how intelligent we are, you know, that kind of stuff. And we use the bell curve, you know, and about 30 questions to gauge our IQ. We know a lot about our EQ, our emotional quotient, but our adaptability quotient, because we are always going to be faced with challenges. We have to be adaptable. It's like riding a bike, and you're riding a bike on rough terrain. You have to keep your balance. If you don't keep your balance, you'll fall down. We have to be adaptable in this situation, no matter what the situation, no matter what the crisis. We have to be able to adapt so that we can actually not just survive, but thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a plum pleasant pleasure to be here with you. I'm handing it back over to the organizer, Miss Grace Nancy. Thank you. Thank you.